This is episode 145 of Let Us Into, aka the new name change now is Let Mr. Olivo Interrupt You. Here on Monday, May 22nd, 2023, I am Joseph Olivo. And yes, I'm in a cranky mood today. This was not a planned show. I was not planning to do this show today. I was actually planning on doing the show tomorrow. Otherwise, last night's Celtic game, absolutely terrible. This game from last night, and need I say more about the players quitting on Missoula last night? Because that's exactly what we got last night. The Celtics lose in a big fashion. Was it 128-102, the largest upset in Boston Celtic playoff history? Probably the largest upset ever as far as any playoff matchup even goes. How that played out last night was absolutely atrocious. This was by far the worst Celtic playoff game that I've ever seen in my entire life. They were not in rhythm in this game. Missoula, I don't know if Missoula just doesn't believe in timeouts at this point or what the story is with him in timeouts. But if there was a time to stop some momentum last night for Miami last night, there were some crucial points in that game that were just and I had to shut it off because I was that disappointed with how they played in that game last night. It was pathetic. There was no other way of looking at it. Gabe Vincent had the most points right now, 29 points last night for him. Jimmy Butler has scored 389 points through 13 quarters as a member of the Miami Heat throughout this entire playoffs. Jimmy Butler at this point, if the Heat go on to win the NBA Finals, he may as well get the MVP unanimously. I mean, I have never seen more of a player who is locked in, ready to go, ready to make this legit. And from my standpoint, I just say the Miami Heat right now are the most unstoppable team right now in the entire NBA up to this point. This is a team that wants to win an NBA Finals trophy. They're going to. I don't know how long it's going to be in Denver, but I can tell you right now that I think that series is over. And if it's Denver and Miami, I can see Miami take this to 6 games. That's it. They go back to Denver. They clinch it there in Denver. Denver would be playing Game 6 and 7 in Denver if they were to go on and win the. Which, let's be honest, it's a foregone conclusion that both Denver and Miami are going to sweep their respective opponents. The Lakers Saturday night lost to the Nuggets at home. Jamal Murray had 30 points in the first half, 7 points in the second half. He had 37 points overall in this game. This game was already over by that point. The Lakers tried to make it into a game. They tried to get back in the game. They came up short. And unfortunately, they ran away with it a little bit more. It was basically sticking it to the Laker fan base. And I gotta say it right now. I think the Lakers are done. And I said it before about the Celtics, and I'll say it again. I think they're done too. A complete and utter waste of time that game was for both those games on last Saturday and Sunday. I mean, it was pretty bad. And the Celtics are saying they lost their identity. I was going to play the audio for this one, but you know what? I'm so pissed off because of how much of pathetic losers both teams were the other night. I'll give you the box score right now because I'm not even in the mood to summarize any of these games really. I'm just not. I will summarize the Denver game for all you people, and maybe this other game too, because it is part of my gig that I'm gonna do this to make this podcast worth watching. And the only reason I'm more in a bad mood, besides the Celtics losing last night, I was sick throughout my entire shift today at EB today. So imagine working 10 hours today, and the first 8 hours, well, we really had this headache since 4 o'clock this morning, drains your whole day. And you're sent down to do a respirator fit test because you got to go in a tank and actually paint some lead paint that you're breathing into. And imagine you're being told that both the medium and the large respirators don't work, but we're going to try to get you a smaller one. I didn't like that at all. But anyway, besides that point, let me summarize this game up for you. Jamal Murray had 37 points. He was 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Actually, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He had 2 personal fouls. Djokovic had 24 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Jamal Murray and the Joker combined in this game went 24 for 47 in this game with field goal range combined. 24 for 47. And they really didn't need Gordon and Porter Jr. to do anything. They really didn't. Michael Porter Jr. had a double-double in this game with 14 points and 10 rebounds. But just how this game played out, how this game was going, Anthony Davis stepped up to the plate. He was 11 for 18. LeBron James was 23 points. Reeves was 23 points. The problem with LeBron is he took too many shots last night. He reserved it back to his old LeBron self and how he couldn't come up big in crucial situations after being down 2-0. And he had 12 assists and 7 rebounds, but it didn't matter. Anthony Davis in the game had 28 points and 18 rebounds. Look, he tried. Okay, he tried to reunite the Shaq O'Neal persona. He sort of kind of did last night, I will admit that. But when you're competing against a Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird combination and a Joker, it's not realistic. It's not realistic. So this game, just from start to finish, though, this was a good start for them. Russell had a 3-pointer right now at the Nuggets, opening with a 2-0 lead. I apologize for my phone glitching out right now at this point, but I can't pull up on my laptop here. Jamal Murray had a 16-foot shot. Murray had a 25-foot shot. I'm going to keep going to Jamal Murray highlights. He had a 2-point shot made. Had an 18-foot step-back shot. 12-foot driving floating jump shot there. Michael Porter Jr. got in the action with a 3-pointer of his own, made it 20-9. Silence the crowd. Aaron Gordon made a 20-foot one jumper. Made it 22-10. Gordon gave it a driving layup, made it 24-10. This game was a runaway by that point. Let's just fast forward here. Midpoint of second quarter, and we'll scroll down here. Nikolai Joker made a 3-pointer there, made it 44-34. Lonnie Walker answered a 3-pointer of his own for the Lakers, made it 44-37. Jamal Murray had a 3-pointer of his own, 28-footed there, 47 for 39 the score was. And Murray had a 6-foot running pull-up jump shot. Murray is just hard to guard. He really is. Kadarius Pope made a 3-pointer of his own, made it 58-55. At the end of the quarter was 58-55 Nuggets. And then at that point, the Nuggets just couldn't stop achieving greatness. Pope had a 23-foot 3-point shot over the quarter. Joker made a 2-foot dunk there. Pope came in a 3-pointer of his own, made it 66-57. Joker had a 2-foot layup there. Davis, Porter Jr. had a 3-pointer, made it 71-64. Bruce Brown made a tip shot in there after Pope missed a 3-point shot. Brown again with a 2-foot layup. Anthony Davis made a driving layup thanks to LeBron's assist. Michael Porter Jr. answered a 3-pointer of his own. Made it 78-73. Late fourth quarter, though. I mean, if we're going to really be honest with ourselves here, this was over by this point here. This was the turning point right here. 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Nikolai Djokovic made a 25-foot 3-point shot. Made it 111-101. Final score of that game, Nuggets win 119-108. And this game was just over by that point. Celtics Heat last night. Before I will give you the box scores and how that game played out, but this is how the game really pretty much came to a close. Because this game was over. The third quarter especially. Outscored 32-17 in that third quarter. Tatum and Brown both combined for 26 points. And both combined to go 1-14 from 3. They played like absolute freaking losers last night. It was pathetic. It was pathetic. Brogdon had no answers last night. He had 0 points. Worst game he's had all year as a Celtic. Marcus Smart is a complete waste of space. Completely useless. And honestly, it's not even worth getting into. It really isn't. Which I'm going to fast forward to the third quarter of this game because this game was just a joke. Marcus Smart had a 2-point shot. It was 61-48. Miami with the lead. Vincent with a 2-point shot, 63-49. Butler had a 10-foot shot. I knew at that point right about here, with that 3-point shot by Max Struss, it was all over. I mean, this wasn't even close. Then the alley-oop shot from Marcus Struss to Abayo. They had another one later on with Abayo from Duncan Robinson. This game was just a complete joke. And it's not even worth getting into here because I'm just going to be more aggravated with it now. They're done, as far as I'm concerned. They're absolutely done. There's no reason for this team now going forward to make a deep run for it. They're done. They have nothing left to say here about this whole thing. Absolutely nothing. And honestly, it's kind of pathetic because they really just didn't show up for this game. When it really comes down to it, you had a team that absolutely quit last night. Mazzulla should be done as head coach by the time this is all said and done. If they keep this guy around, they'll never win a championship with Mazzulla. Mazzulla, I would say by far, is probably the worst head coach in the NBA. This is a guy with a 57-25 record. What's he have to show for in the end? Being swept by an 8 seed. Boy, isn't that rich. Very sad. Very pathetic way to end your NBA season. Really, in a way right now where you're going to be, because you're going to be swept. Okay? If there's a game 5, great. That's not saving Mazzulla's job. It's not saving it. And, I had no time to save the audio on this because I really didn't think it would actually be able, like I said before, was not planning doing the show today until tomorrow. But I figured the Nuggets are playing tonight. That's probably going to be the final game of their series, realistically, because the Lakers are just going to be done anyway. So it's not really worth getting into. A lot of aggravation from this game in general. And I just, the rest of this is just, it's pathetic. It's bad when this is the worst box score in the entire season the Celtics could have came up with here. Miami had a much better score here. Butler had 16 points. Abayo at 13. Vincent had 29 points. He's probably the best shooter in the entire floor. Went 11 for 14, 6 from 9 from 3. Struss had 10 points in the game. Duncan Robinson had 22 points. Went 5 from 7 from 3. Robinson was the second best shooter in the entire game. Martin was the third best shooter, I think. Went 35 minutes in there at 18 points. Just all the way around. Was an awesome way, really, for the Miami Heat to finish up that run in the end. It just they earned the series win, in my opinion, and I think they'll get the win tomorrow night back in Boston, or not. I'm sorry, back in Miami because it's still Game 4. Unless Boston comes back here and makes this a series, which I don't think they will, they're done. That was a team that quit last night. Horford had 8 points last night. Smart had 8 points. Derek White had 9. Horford, I don't even understand why he had less minutes last night. He only had 19 minutes in the game. My only assumption on this whole thing is that this may have actually cost Brown his contract, because who the hell knows? Although it might not. Who knows? Who knows after last night Brown even wants to be a Boston Celtic after last night. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. NHL playoffs were on last night and Saturday night. Both games did go into overtime once again. The Panthers once again, I think, forcing overtime again here, which they did. They've been the overtime kings. They're now 7-0 when it comes to overtime games. They went to Carolina, basically held them down. Talk scores another overtime winning goal. Borshak had 37 saves. Barkov had a goal of his own. And it was a power play goal. And that's the thing, too. The Panthers have been excellent in the power play. Excellent. Chatfield had 1 goal for Carolina, but that was the only goal they really had in the game. That was early in the first period. But this game was already over when Carolina couldn't do anything with the puck. And this goes to show you that we're going to probably end up seeing a Florida Panther Golden Knight Stanley Cup final, because I just can't imagine this game. And really, I can't really imagine Florida losing the next 2 games. I really can't. Especially how good they've been playing. No one's stopping that team. Golden Knights, Chandler Stevenson got the overtime win for their team. Let me get through the highlights of this one quickly. Heine got a goal for the Dallas Stars. Stone got a power play goal for the Golden Knights. Robinson had a power play goal of his own. Marchult had a goal late in the third period to tie the game up 2-2. Overtime came around. Stevenson got the game-winning overtime goal for the Knights as Vegas gets to win 3-2 in that regard. So that's that. I mean, that's your hockey minute there with that right now. I got to tell you right now, I think Vegas at this point makes this a series because I think they're going to win Game 3 in Dallas. They lose Game 4. They lose Game 5. I think that to Vegas, Dallas again. Vegas does, and they win Game 6. Vegas. I think the series. Honestly, here's my opinion. I really wouldn't be surprised if Florida won the series in 7 games against Vegas. That really wouldn't surprise me. And if it had to come down to 4 overtimes in the last game of the year, which I have a funny feeling that might happen anyway, who knows? Florida can make that a series, though. Carolina, I don't think can. Carolina, you could argue right now, if they face the Golden Knights right now, I think they make that a series. The problem is, I think the Golden Knights win that series in 7. I think if it was the Rangers or the Devils, it'd be a 5 or 6 game series. Or the Bruins. That would have been a much better Stanley Cup final. Would have been a lot more intriguement behind that. But we're not going to see it because we got another useless head coach in Boston. Missoula and Montgomery. The 2 most useless coaches right now as far as Boston sports goes right now. I'd say more useless than Rick Pitino in his time in Boston. If I describe that one for you in a nutshell, that was an F in his time there. An F. Another coach who couldn't get it done in Boston. Kind of sad, actually, when you think about it. Red Sox got the 2 out of 3 win series over the San Diego Padres. Devers just delivered all weekend long. Bogarts couldn't do anything. And it was Kluber that made sure the Padres didn't get swept. This game was just a mental beatdown. And it really capped it all off with Carpenter's 2-run shot after a 4-0 lead and Odor's RBI double. This was a game where Devils went 0 for 4. Yoshida went 2 for 3. Verdugo went 0 for 4. Duran went 0 for 4. Hernandez went 0 for 3. Valdez and Reyes went 0 for 2. That was it. I mean, there was nothing about that series that screamed out like this was good. It was not good. McGuire went 2 out of 3. Kluber didn't even last 3 innings. They had to put Pavetta in there at one point because now he's been removed to bullpen. And by the way, they got rid of Ryan Brazier too, so Brazier's no longer with the team. My thoughts on the Red Sox after this weekend was this series surprised me. I did not expect the Padres to lose that series. In fact, I thought the total opposite, really. I thought they were going to win it. But this goes to show you that the Padres were a no-show for that series win. And there was no otherwise, there was no Machado. And there was no, although Fernando Tatis was there, but there was no Machado. That kind of was noticeable throughout this weekend here. I did not hear a lot of Machado over the weekend. He probably did play in one of the games. I don't know if he played in all of them. In fact, I'm not even sure what Machado's story even is. Otherwise, this was a nothing series for the Padres. As a matter of fact, the Padres may as well just given up on the entire run because they don't know what they're doing. They stink. Another team that just has an owner that doesn't care, just goes along with the motions at this point and says, hey, we got a team. We're good. We're relevant. But Bogarts, I think now at this point, in crucial situations, without being with the Red Sox, he lost his lust. And it's maybe a tad bit of overreaction, but I don't think the Padres are going to be a World Series contender anytime soon. Now they can't compete with the Arizona Diamondbacks or the Dodgers. And you brought these guys in to compete with these kind of teams. You can't beat the Red Sox 2 out of 3 at home. What makes you think it could be a series against the Dodgers in LA or in San Diego? You can't even do that. So they're completely useless. They just are. It's that simple. They are completely freaking useless. The Red Sox start the series tonight with the Angels tonight. They play in Anaheim tonight, part of their West Coast trip. It's 10 o'clock tonight versus Berea. So that's a 3-game series in Anaheim. They have a 3-game series in Arizona right after that. So the road games continue. And they're back at home on May 30th against the Cincinnati Reds for their 3-game series. Speaking of the Reds, the Yankees got the sweep over the weekend over the Cincinnati Reds. I might as well just give you the scores from that particular series, just to prove a point right now how good the Yankees are getting right now since Aaron Judge's return, and they're getting Servino back. They got a lot of these guys back already, so it's a good sign. Otherwise, they swept. They took 2 out against Toronto, like I mentioned before. I mentioned on Friday they did that already, or Saturday. It was Saturday, right? It was Saturday. Yankees won 62, 7-4, and 4-1. They outscored this team 17-7. They outscored the Cincinnati Reds over the weekend. The Reds are no competition. But at this point in time, you could argue now that the Yankees are going to get into a playoff groove pretty damn soon. They're playing the Orioles this week. Then they have the Padres coming to town, which, boy, oh boy, is that going to be a fun series for the Padres. They just had to deal with the Red Sox. Now they got to go to Yankee Stadium for that series. And right now they play the Mariners for a 3-game series of their own. So the Yankees right now are a very interesting team. They really are. I'm not sure what to think of the Yankees now going forward. I mean, considering where they are now in the standings. But it just, I mean, is Baltimore the real deal? I don't know. I still have my doubts. The Rays, they've had the easier road ahead of their schedule. The Red Sox out of this weekend took 2 out with San Diego. They move up to 4th. And I gotta say this right now: if I had to make a prediction right now on how this year were to end up, and it would be interesting to think about this for a second. That the Red Sox sweep the Angels, they go 29-1 and 29-21. Which, by the way, I'm not sure what's going on with this phone today. This phone today has been acting really strange lately. It really has. I'm not sure what the story is with his phone today. I don't know why I took a screenshot just now of the Major League Baseball standings. But, yep. I think my phone's officially broken at this point. I think after today, it's been all messed up. But I may as well give you the rest of the scores from the weekend. Phillies beat the Cubs 2-1. Padres beat the Red Sox 7-0. Giants beat the Marlins 7-5. Yankees beat the Reds 4-1. Nationals beat the Tigers 6-4. Atlanta Braves beat the Mariners 3-2. The Diamondbacks beat the Pirates 8-3. Orioles beat the Blue Jays 8-3 in 11 innings it took. Brewers beat the Rays 6-4. I think the Rays took 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee. Mets beat the Guardians in their doubleheader. They swept the doubleheader 5-4 and 2-1. Rangers beat the Rockies 13-3. Cardinals and Dodgers ended up in an even series 10-5. Astros beat the A's 2-0. White Sox beat the Royals 5-2. Angels beat the Twins 4-2. And that was pretty much it for the as far as all the weekend goes for Major League Baseball. Anyway, so that's that. I didn't get a chance to talk about Pat McAfee's ESPN thing. I mentioned it in the description for the podcast from last Saturday. Never really got a chance to cover it. I may have mentioned it in the beginning that Pat McAfee was joining ESPN. I didn't really dig deep into that story. I didn't really get a chance to take my take on the whole thing. But here's my take. I think it's a mistake. What you have now on your YouTube program is fine. There's no reason for his show to go on ESPN. He's making tons of money through YouTube television with the subscribers he has right now. He's making more money than most ESPN shows in general. So why would he go on a network where you're making less? Now, granted, Pat McAfee does work for ESPN technically with College Game Day and stuff like that, but Pat McAfee don't need ESPN. Pat McAfee don't need the WWE at this point with his contract in WWE, what it looks like right now. He don't need him. YouTube has paid him very well, just like that Joe Rogan's been paid very well through YouTube and Spotify with his podcast, and Pat McAfee's got paid the same way. To me, I just think to myself, this is a mistake. It's a waste of time. I don't know why he even bothers with going to ESPN at this point. I mean, you already got a gig with College Game Day. You could do Monday Night Football broadcasting, but for whatever reason, they don't want him to do that. And I figured, oh, it's it. But I don't think Pat McAfee should go to ESPN. I don't think he should because they're going to ruin that show. They're going to make it into a Disney Pixar most PG show in the history, and it'll become unwatchable at that point. It'll be cringeworthy. It'll be cringeworthy. Just as cringeworthy as watching First Take without Stephen A. Smith. It's full of cringe. It's like watching Undisputed without Shannon Sharp in there. It's not the same. Or listening to Club Shay Shay, and you're not even listening to Shannon Sharp. You're listening to John Elway, let's say hypothetically. I mean, it's just, there's no good look to it. I mean, are you going to keep Pat McAfee PG? Are you going to keep AJ Hawk from being a douche and smoking cigars? You're just not going to be able to. I mean, if this is another version of the Manny cast here, we're going to call it the McAfee cast, which I think would be a good thing for a show like that. But I can see ESPN completely botching that whole show. And I don't get why that show's going on ESPN. I don't know why Pat McAfee would even put himself through this. Because to me, his show was just fine on YouTube. It does not need another network to go on there, especially if people can watch it on YouTube for free. They don't need to go on YouTube television and watch his show on YouTube. When you got a show that's produced like my show is. I'm on YouTube. Yes, I don't have a lot of subscribers, but the difference is no one has to pay to watch my show. They can watch it for free. So what Pat McAfee's doing, you're basically going on YouTube television at this point, getting an ESPN provider, and you're making people pay $100 to watch your show when you can watch it on YouTube for free. It doesn't make sense. And there's a lot of people right now who are cutting the cord. And right now, I'm on the fence about cutting the cord right now because after what I saw with the end of that Heat Celtics game 2, or whatever it was that was ending that game 2, I don't think anyone should even think about cutting the cord just yet, because if you're going to miss the end of conference finals basketball games or Stanley Cup finals for hockey games or the Super Bowl, could you imagine you missed the end of the Super Bowl because YouTube TV failed? That's the biggest low blow. That's why streaming devices suck. Unless you're paying a really good price for it and you got the best streaming device possible, these things are not made for television. These ideas they put in heads like YouTube TV, they're not made for television loading up stuff. I don't mind having that on my computer screen at this point because I'm used to it. But when it comes on my television screen and it's buffering, that's a problem. Imagine watching a Pat McAfee show. You just watch 2.5 hours of it and you just miss the entire show. That would suck. And Pat McAfee at this point, like I said before, does not need to go on ESPN, or as I like to call it now, Disney Channel with sports, because that's exactly what this show's going to turn into. It's a Disney Pixar at this point. You might as well have a Pat McAfee animated character, and so is AJ Hawk, in my opinion. That's going to sting. That's going to suck. Ratings-wise, it won't even be good. It just won't be good at all. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. All right, so we have some more NFL news besides this. Lamar is asking for OTAs to report later. That's not really major news, but that is one of the news. But not only that, Josh Johnson, turning into the Black Ryan Fitzpatrick, has decided to sign once again with the Ravens. He's back with the Ravens at this point, and I call him the Black Ryan Fitzpatrick because literally he's copying Ryan Fitzpatrick's career. His whole career, he was a journeyman. In fact, you could argue right now that Josh Johnson is more well known for being a journeyman than Ryan Fitzpatrick might be. Johnson's been in the league for so long at this point, though it's hard to believe it. But he is a backup quarterback at this point, third on the depth chart at this point. which makes it interesting here because the NFL owner approved of emergency third quarterback proposal. So it won't affect an active roster spot if they do have a third quarterback option at this point. It's one of those basically that they keep on a depth chart at this point and keep them active. Or if they don't have one, let's say hypothetically, they can pull out anybody here to pull at quarterback. I don't know. That just seems like to me it's a good, interesting story for Josh Johnson at this point because he's going to be the third quarterback on the depth chart, and who knows if Lamar Jackson stays healthy. Is it Josh Johnson to the rescue at this point, or is it Tyler Huntley? And I think Johnson's going to move up to the second down the depth chart. I have a funny feeling that's what's ended up happening, most likely. Big Ben Roethlisberger. I probably should have put this in the description, but this is part of the news feed this week. Initially did not want Kenny Pickett to succeed. This is what the retired quarterback had to say on the Football Hall-In with Ben Roethlisberger podcast. And this was over the weekend. He had said, quote, I'll be completely honest. I'll be super transparent here, and I'm going to get blasted, Roethlisberger said. I probably shouldn't say this, but who cares at this point? I wouldn't say that I wanted Kenny to necessarily fail, but when someone comes to replace you, I still feel like I had it. I hope he doesn't come ball out because then it's like, Ben who? Early on, I didn't want you to succeed because you followed me up. I didn't want it to happen. I think that's probably the selfishness of me, and I feel bad for it, Roethlisberger told Pickett. Quote, as you started playing, I found myself rooting more and more for you. Roethlisberger said, I wanted you to succeed. I wanted you to win games. I wanted you to go into the playoffs. I feel bad that I felt that early on, but I'm glad I transitioned to loving and rooting for you. Post quote. He added that he's now a fan of Pickett. I will say this: that's for any quarterback out there who wants these guys to fail. I mean, Tom Brady right now is probably rooting for Mac Jones to fail in New England because at the end of the day, Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. And there's not going to be another Tom Brady, just like there won't be another Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh anytime soon. That's a fact. In my opinion here, for a guy who was transitioning to honesty here and wanted to be honest about this whole scenario, he was right to say what he needed to say. I'm not going to take anything away from Ben Roethlisberger here. I think he was being totally honest about how he felt. And the more and more he watched, the more and more he started to like it. And that happens a lot with people. So to me, this wasn't really a shocking news story here. The fact that Kenny Pickett right now at this point is going to prove the quarterback, which that's what all the story has to be about anyway. It has to be about Kenny Pickett proving everybody wrong. Because at the end of the day, if you don't do that, you're not going to succeed in this league. It's not realistic. So I hope Pickett is successful. I hope Roethlisberger gets over the fact right at this point that he's going to succeed you over time. And I don't know if Pickett's going to be any good. If I'm going to be really realistic here, I think the guy is a tad bit overrated. I just think that myself. I don't think he's going to be that successful. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh this year failed. I'm just being realistic here. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they failed this year. They failed to make the playoffs this year. They've got too much in that division. The Bengals are excellent now. The Ravens are great. The Browns are too good. And right now you have the Steelers who are just looking beneath in the woods. The Patriots are in the exact same place right now as the Pittsburgh Steelers are in right now. 3 great teams in the AFC East. 3. Not 4, 3. Because I'm going to say this right now, and I'll say this once and I'll say it again. I think this is a year where the Steelers completely drop off at this point. They don't do much of anything here. And I think they missed the playoffs again this year. Which, if that's the case, could that be the end of the road for Mike Tomlin in his time in Pittsburgh? I don't think it is necessarily. But anyway, we got some breaking news. A lot of NFL news breaking at this point. There's actually 2 breaking news articles here. So we'll start with breaking news number 1 here. And that is the NFL announced Monday that the 2025 NFL Draft will be held in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So next year will be in Detroit. The following year it will be in Green Bay, Wisconsin, probably right outside Lambeau Field, which I kind of hope it is. That'd be great to have the NFL Draft out there in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'll be there in person. Now I got a reason to go to Green Bay, Wisconsin in 2025. That'd be great. So that's breaking news story number one. And I'll get back to the Pickett stuff in just a second here. Also, more breaking news. Owners approved flexing Thursday night football games. Rule change passes by a 24-8 vote, according to Adam Schefter. Only 2 flexible allowed all season and must be done within a 28-day notice. So I don't know if that's going to make a lot of NFL teams happy. And I'm actually going to get more into that story probably on Friday. Because this week alone is going to be 3 episodes this week, probably even 4. Because it's going to be a 4-episode week. So I'll probably get more to that on Wednesday, why that would be a failure, and probably Friday too. It's going to probably be the first time I cover something for more than 3 days. Anyway, but the whole Pickett scenario, as I transition back to that, I'm not sure what Pickett's going to do in Pittsburgh this year, but I gotta say right now, competing with Cleveland and competing with Cincinnati and Baltimore, I think he has no chance. That team is way too tough. And Pittsburgh can try to play spoiler. The problem with the whole thing of it is I think realistically the idea of Pickett playing spoiler to the Ravens and the Bengals at this point is kind of stupid. The Bengals have got way too much talent. Their defense is completely sunk, in my honest opinion. You got Joey Porter Jr., who is the only bright spot in the whole thing because he's a rookie defensive back who's going to make a good impression. The rest of it, really aging players. It's not going to help out at any point in time. That's going to be an issue going forward. I'm just saying, it is. But for Big Ben to feel the way he felt right now at this point and turning into a fan and he didn't want him to succeed at first, I get it. It's like Tom Brady with Mac Jones, and I already mentioned that earlier. But it's also like that with a lot of these quarterbacks. Peyton Manning with Andrew Luck. I would say maybe, if we're going to be realistic here, Kirk Cousins to RG3. Jalen Hurts would not have McNabb. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that weren't fans of the kid. And as soon as Hurts played the way he played last season, McNabb became a fan. It's all wrapped around this whole thing. It is. It does make for an interesting story. It really does. Tom Brady, speaking of the most greatest quarterback of all time, although I didn't really mention him at first until just now, but he is buying a minority stake in the Las Vegas Raiders. Already made his purchase today, so it's been made official. My thought on this is, if he has no hearsay here, what's the point of buying this team? You know, if I want to buy a stake of the team, I want my opinion to matter. And I want them to hear my opinion out and actually go through the idea that I would come up with. Just saying. Because the idea of Mark Davis at this point, allowing that to happen and making sure Brady doesn't have any of the power, just makes this whole thing freaking pointless. I mean, if I'm a guy like Mark Davis who hasn't had a successful thing happen to the Raiders in over 20 years, I would listen to the greatest quarterback of all time give me the advice that would help my team win. But they made it so he can't have any hearsay in the whole thing. I think that's just really dumb at this point. Let's see. Gerald Everett had a issue with his meal, as far as how his meal came out right now. The nasty cafeteria food that he had received, and I wish I was able to share the pictures with you on here, but unfortunately YouTube would not allow me to upload the thing. I don't know why. Awful looking cafeteria food, and one of these pictures here, I find it hilarious because these are professional athletes, and you mean to tell me right now that they can't get pampered to, and they're going through grueling football games? It's so sad. It really is. And this is on his Twitter, by the way. Disgusting how his food is. I might actually even show you on here. This is a burger, by the way. That is and I gotta tell you now, this looks like a nasty burger to you. Look how nasty that burger looks. It's disgusting, right? Absolutely gross. That's according to his Twitter. That's the cafeteria food that's made by the Chargers organization. I gotta tell you right now, if this is the Chargers faculty people going on strike here because they're not being paid out by their dumb owner, I don't know what to say about that really. Other than I had to say, damn, that's very pathetic of the Chargers to let that happen at this point. It really is. You know, it is what it is. I'm just shocked by this. I really am. Absolutely stunned. Anyway, I just it's very hard to believe at this point. You know, it really is. To watch Gerald Everett try to eat that food sometimes. There was a video of it on YouTube of him eating it, and I'm just like, this is gross. I don't know if they even produced. I don't even know if that was even him or not. But the food they have out in that Chargers camp, and there were more photos besides that one photo. But I don't get how you would look at this and say to yourself, "Damn, I really wish I had my wife's cooking." Like, why wouldn't you just bring that? Why wouldn't you just bring that? It doesn't make any sense. And there's more news on the NFL owners approving modified proposal flex scheduling for Thursday Night Football. And they're going to happen between the weeks of 13 and 17. They're not going to happen all year long, which I think is not surprising, but that's that. I mean, it's interesting at this point, but I kind of hope it works out. I really hope it does. It makes things a little bit more interesting here. Steve Nash interviewed for the Raptors job. Bucks had narrowed their head coaching staff down to Kenny Atkinson, Adrian Griffin, and I think was it Charles? Was it Nick Nurse at this point? I think the Bucks list was for. I guess it was. Yeah. But I thought on this as well. If the Celtics do end up losing this final, they're going to have to fire Missoula. But bring in Steve Nash at this point. Let a former player who's been around this league for years, a guy who was championship stricken, and basically never won a championship. But bring this guy in to help this team out change its ways. Seriously, let him take over that team because realistically, that's a real head coach right there. Steve Nash, I thought was great in his time in Brooklyn. I think the fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, mainly Kyrie, never really took him seriously. I thought that was kind of dumb. To me, I think realistically here, this was kind of dumb on their part for not taking him seriously at this point and letting him get fired. To me, I would bring this guy in just because he's the most veteran player around. He's been had more playoff games than anybody else that I could think of. And honestly, at this point, you got nothing else to lose. Unless Nick Nurse is the right guy. And I wouldn't be butthurt by this at all, but at this point, they need a former player. Missoula, at this point, has got the worst coaching attributes than Steve Nash does. Steve Nash, at this point, has got much better coaching attributes. Hell, Jason Kidd has got more of a brain as an NBA head coach. And this is a guy that was fired 3 different times. I don't get it. I really honestly do not get it. How at this point, no one's ever thought of this. Hell, I'd take Kenny Atkinson at this point, Adrian Griffin, Charles Griffin, whatever it is, Dwayne Casey. I'd take Avery Johnson. I would take any of those guys at this point. Stan Van Gundy, Larry Brown, Rick Pitino again, Calipari, Mike Krzyzewski. There are so many, and I'm just talking college basketball mainly too, but there's Shanker Smart. Anyway, we got some more breaking news on here. This is actually interesting here. I'm actually surprised by this breaking news. So, although I really shouldn't be. The Oakland Athletics fired broadcaster Glenn Cooper for using racial slur on air while describing a trip to the the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. Was a slur the Negro word? Because we can't say that anymore. We can't really say any of these words really. They're offensive. And they are offensive to black people. And Glenn Cooper and that Cooper guy deserves to lose his freaking job. He really does. Anyway, back to my NBA thought. Joe Mazzulla has to go. Nash could be the good guy to replace him. Nash is not going to succeed in Toronto because they're in a rebuild stage now at this point. They're trying to start from scratch. Nash's only chance of winning a championship at this point is to coach for the Boston Celtics. That's it. Nick Nurse can win another championship with Boston. It'd be an interesting story, because does Drake come along with him? Drake is kind of like a minority stock owner of the Raptors at this point. But it'd be interesting to see whether or not he'd be a minority stock owner of the Boston Celtics. I mean, I'm just saying. You take Drake along with us? Can we do that? Just to get people to come to Boston at the end of the day? I don't know, to keep Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum around for the next 10 years. Can we do that? That'd be nice. Unfortunately, there'll be somebody that won't be around the NBA next season, which is Carmelo Anthony, the 10-time All-Star, the man who really had no rings to begin with, who should have had a ring. Carmelo Anthony announced his retirement today from the league. That was news that was brought up earlier today, which when I read this online, I couldn't believe it. Because the first thing that popped in my head was that, like, this man could have had another year or two in the NBA. And the fact that he didn't surprises the hell out of me. The 10-time NBA All-Star, 6-time All-NBA selection, 9th most points all-time in the 75th anniversary team member. And all I gotta say is thank you, Carmelo Anthony. The guy's had a great career. Part of the 2008 Olympic basketball team. Won a gold medal with that team. I'm pretty sure he won at least a few gold medals. I want to say. I think it was right during the Olympics. I could be wrong, but I think he won about 2 or 3 gold medals. And he was close both times to going on to the NBA Finals. Has never been to an NBA Finals in his entire career. This is a guy at this point that is a shoo-in for a first ballot Hall of Fame induction. There's no question about it. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I want to say this right now. I think LeBron James should be the one that inducts him in the Hall of Fame. And if not him, then his former coach, Jim Boeheim, in his time at Syracuse, that he should be the one that inducts him in the Hall of Fame. It would be so special to see him inducted in the Hall of Fame. And really, realistically, Dwayne Wade should be the one to do it too. But the more I think about it, I thought Dwayne Wade, but I thought, you know what, LeBron James, because here's why. Before Carmelo really did anything else, he played in his final season of basketball, technically, with LeBron James in the Los Angeles Lakers. And that was not too long ago, really. So, and I'm surprised they didn't have a Lakers jersey on him because he was a Los Angeles Laker. And honestly, he's more remembered for the Denver Nuggets more than really his time with the New York Knicks. His New York Knicks one was forgettable. Let's put it that way. His Thunder run was pretty good, was solid, not great. The Laker run was meh at best, but his run in Denver, he was the best player on that team. And without him, the Nuggets would not be relevant today in the NBA. They wouldn't be. You wouldn't get guys like Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and Nikola Jokic. These guys would never be on that team. They'd probably be in New York right now at this point. So I'm just saying. That right there is what makes Carmelo Anthony so special, because he is the guy that made the Denver Nuggets relevant in the NBA stature. And there's not going to be anybody else like Carmelo Anthony. He was as far as I know, one of the greatest basketball players in the world. And it's too bad that he never won a championship, because I think this guy would be, honestly, I always imagine him getting 3 rings. Whether it was with the Knicks, whether it was with the Lakers, and whether it was with the Thunder or not. Or Portland Trailblazers. Remember his time in Portland? He was kind of turning into a journeyman. It was kind of sad, really, when you think about it. He had one stint in Houston that really didn't even happen, really. So, I mean, it is what it is. Let's take a look here. So the rest of the week right now, I'll give you the schedule-wise of how the show is going to go this week. There will definitely be an episode on Wednesday. There will definitely be an episode on Friday. I have no work Friday, so I'll be probably doing a show early that morning and taking the rest of the day off. There will be a show on Saturday this week. I will have at least 4 episodes this week of a really good show. I will, discuss whether or not flexing Thursday Night Football is a good idea on Wednesday. I will give you the highlights for the Game 4s, unfortunately, which, let's be realistic at this point. I had the Lakers. I want to say I had the Lakers winning this series. I also had them losing this series, so I'm not really too heartbroken about them. I'm more heartbroken about the Celtics, if I be realistic here. So, yeah. So, the show will be on this week. Obviously, this was the earliest part of today, but Wednesday this week, I will have a show. Friday, I'll have a show. And Saturday. So you're going to get 4 episodes of me this week. And then it's back to normal. The only reason I'm doing the show today because I will not be around tomorrow because I'm seeing my father tomorrow. Shout out to him as he's going to get ready to go on a road trip to Oklahoma, California, Denver, Colorado for the next 4 months. I'm going to miss him, obviously. I got to see him over the weekend, so it was nice seeing him in person since I really haven't seen him since March. And I'll be seeing him again tomorrow, which is why I'm not going to have time to do the show tomorrow. So I felt like I needed to get the show out of the way. Not really much I talked about on here, really. This was not really that long of a show today, 52 minutes. But anyway, my social media, Snapchat, Jalva Sports 123, Joe Alva Boston Sports at Instagram, Joseph Alva on Facebook. And TikTok is just Joe Olivo. I don't even use the damn thing. I only use that damn thing when the girls want to do some hot dances. They put on TikTok or they put on YouTube. I mainly got my TikTok videos through either Snapchat or Instagram or YouTube. I don't really go on TikTok that much. If anything, I barely even use the account at all. I can't remember the last time I even opened the account. So, yeah, that's it. My theme song thing isn't working on my laptop or my phone. So unfortunately, you're not going to get a theme song at the end of this episode. I know it's sad. I know people were clamoring to hear that song today, but unfortunately, I don't have time to get into that. So thank you all for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you all again on Wednesday and Friday and Saturday. I'm out. Bye, guys.